Hello, in this episode I'm going to be showing you how to make a Portal 2 Overgrown aesthetic for your test chambers. This is something I've been requested to do numerous amounts of times, particularly in my Portal Plus Overgrown video, so here we are. Now I've already made the test chamber that I'll be using for this. Let me give you a quick walkthrough of it. So I've made it beforehand to save time when making the actual aesthetic, because Overgrown takes a long time. In the main game, Overgrown aesthetics usually use cubes, buttons, floor buttons, and momentum. And they will also have single portals and auto portals. I won't be showing you how to make any of these mechanics, like the panels, the single portals, any of that. This isn't a test design tutorial, it is a aesthetic tutorial. But I do want you to understand this test before we go into it. So the main idea of the test is you drop the cube. I think I just messed up. Oh no, it's fine. You drop the cube in like that, stand on that, shoot that, that goes out, lands on that, and you've opened up the test chamber. So that's the main idea of the test. It's very basic, but to be honest, I actually quite like making easy tests. They do very well. Obviously, don't feel like you have to limit yourself to cubes, buttons, and momentum. Feel free to do whatever you like, but for the sake of the tutorial, I want to keep it authentic to Portal 2. So first off, I am going to do the area just above the ceiling, so up here. Now, I have seen other videos where people just make a tiny box, like, let me show you what I mean. I've seen on the workshop and videos times when people just make like a box maybe about that size, put it in the ceiling, make like a square hole into that box, and the box will be filled with like plants and stuff like that. That's wrong. No, that looks crap. You don't do that. You don't make a box. This is what you do. So, you instead of making a box, you make a really big box. That's what you do. So, about maybe about 512 units high. It's vary based on your room, but I'm going to go with 512. Okay, and then I want this spread out across a wider area than the actual test chamber. Okay, so that's going to be my sky. I think that's a decent size. So now I'm going to move this around and I'm going to create a box. Okay, once you have your box, then you want to apply the basic textures. My favourite one is... I've passed it. Here we go. This one's my favourite one. BTS 005A. I like that one. Any metal texture would work, but that's the one I use. Okay. For the ceiling, we're going to use Trincar Bold White. Now, I'm not using the skybox or one of the glowing white textures because I want full control over my lighting. So I'm going for the one that doesn't light anything up. Okay, so next I'm going to take into consideration the bottom bit here, and I am going to create a bit of a shape around the ceiling. So remember, the ceiling, I'm making holes in the ceiling. It's not just one hole here. Hell, not even two holes here and here. I'm going to have 3 layers of this, so there'll be a test layer, a layer up here in the roof, and then a second layer up here in the roof. So on this top layer, that's the layer that breaks into the white light. Okay, I'm positioning this hole so that's a great spot to pour in light for when you enter into the test chamber and you look up. I want you to see lots of light. So you'll be standing like here. That should be good. Okay, so now I'm gonna go and start cutting out bits of shapes around here. We don't ever just want a square, we want little bits of pieces that have fallen off around. So I'm gonna go around like this. So next up we want square beams. And for this we'll only be using skin one, which is the rusty one. Make sure you disable shadows. Okay, so now we're gonna copy and paste this around this. Oh, this I made too thin. I will change that ever so slightly. Is that good? Bit more down. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to copy and paste that around the place. So what I'm doing is I'm creating like a transition between structure and hole. So here we have the solid area, then it slowly breaks into the square beams, and then here it's just a hole. And you want your transition to feel very natural. Don't just put square beams, like a complete circle. Square beams do include lots of gaps. There we go, I am happy with that. Now I'm going to create the divide between these layers. So a good prop to use is this one. So you can just plop that right in the middle. And that's upside down. So you want the model to be in the most optimal position to light up as much of the room as possible. I think that position works quite well. We can still see lots of bits of the ceiling from this angle. So next I am going to create a border around it. Okay, so the texture you want to apply to this is a dirty one. You want to find a dirty black tile. I think I might just go for that. There we go. So we've created both the layers. This middle layer here, top layer, test layer. So here it is in game. I'm going to make the second layer actually higher because you can't really see the edges there. It's barely visible. And I'm also going to move it slightly that direction. So move it slightly that way. Okay, so that direction you can't really see the sky anymore. And do we ever see too far that direction? Yeah. Okay. I am going to push this out a bit more in this direction. It's a very difficult aesthetic, and there'll be lots of fine tuning required. You know what? I have made it too high now. That's what I've done. I've gone and made it too high. You see, my goal here is to get white light visible right there, because I want the entrance to be flooded with light. This should work. There is plenty of light I'll get in from up there. Currently the shape of the ceiling is a bit bland, so I'm going to have a bit of the wall, just 128 unit thing, just come out here to give it some more variation in the shape. First off, to create some variation in the shape of the room, I'm going to get that little bit I told you about, and just plop that there. So now we'll colour that texture, and I'm going to move. I'll cut a bit east of the ceiling off there, and apply that there. There we go. There we go. That just creates some more variation in the structure of the room. So next I'm going to work on the walls. So I'm going to work up from the walls, then on the ceiling. So right here is where we're going to have the entrance, so I'm going to be careful with the walls here, but I am going to push this back, I think 64 units. We're going to change this texture here to the right one. So the textures you will be using for this, these are the black ones here. Don't use vertex. Vertex is not a good texture to use. Okay, so make sure any sort of geometry like this, where the full 64 by 64 one doesn't fit, you're using a 32 by 32. And let's be sure there's a few more examples around the place, like there, but some places we'll just cover when we get to them. Anyway, right here I'm going to have a bit of destroyed wall. Okay, so first off, you want to cut it into bits of 128. And now I'm going to texture the bottom with white walls. These are just white walls that are just there to bait the player, make them think there's more of a puzzle. Oops, I hate that one. That's a bad one. That one's better. There we go. No. That one's good when combined like that. So if I do it like so, where I cut it in half there, move that piece over there. So you want your walls all nicely textured. So here's my white wall section over here, and I can see that this section of my floor doesn't actually affect the game whether or not it's portable. So I'm going to make all this portable. White spots, they serve two purposes. One purpose is to allow the player to portal to those locations, and spots where that is the case I want it to look fancy, so I'm going to put that there. And the other purpose is to just make the area a bit lighter. So now I'm going to go around and add more texture variation with the walls. I think I'm going to cut this into a few pieces. And remember, ceiling pieces like this, you do not use the ceiling texture. You don't use any ceiling textures. No, that's evil. Well, you can use this one, only when you're doing white walls. When you're doing dirty walls, you use this one. Or any wall material, any black wall material is what you use for the ceilings. You know what, actually I will use some of the ones titled top. So the top variation of walls, they're just a sort of more dirty variation where you've got stains pouring in from the top. They only work if the texture above it isn't the same one, so if I put that there, that does look a bit odd right here. So anything that's got top, you usually put on the top of a wall, like that. I am going to pick up another window and put it here. Remember, the windows use this texture here. In this part of the game they use this texture, or you use some of the fractured models, which we'll show you later, but they use this one. And make sure you have aligned it so that they are the same on both sides. And we'll also get on to the structure of what they look like more. This is just a basic window. So basically the point of what we're doing right now is we're creating lots of variation in all the textures. We will get on to actually damaging the walls later, but we just want the base of what we're working with to already be good without any of that extra work. So make sure you keep placing all these in lots of different variations and lots of alternating shapes. Don't just go with units of 128. Although I say that, and immediately I'm off to 128. You know what? I'll cut it in half. There you go. See, I am interesting. So that's nice. Now we want to go to here. This is the ugly texture. We want something dirty. Because this is in the air, I don't want to go for one that has lots of dirt stains on the bottom. I think that might be good. Honestly, that one would be pretty good. You know what? I think I'll just go for this one. Yeah, this one's alright. Okay, and just letting you know, there are some big textures right here. Very big. That doesn't fit very well there, so I won't use it there. I'll use it somewhere else. Yes, that is that wall fully textured. I'm happy with that. So now we're onto this one. So I'm going to start cutting it into pieces. Although I do know that for the top layer, I want to use at least one of these big ones here. Very big texture. And I think I will just use just one of them. Is that too much space? Yeah, it is. Oops. Okay. And these next sections I will use another variation. Use some of these at the top. Okay, now that wall is finished, lots of variation there. Now I'm going to go on to this wall. Okay, there we go, that one's done. Now onto the final wall right here. So now all my walls are all uniquely textured, like so. We can go in game and have a look at that. So there we go. All uniquely textured, lots of variation, very nice. Anyway, so on to actually destroying the walls. Alright, so I'm going to show off lots of different destruction techniques for walls. So I have a little bit of destruction, maybe like from here, going around here. Okay, I'll show you what I mean. So, cut that, and we're going to push this back by about maybe 32 units. How's that? Let's say 32? Yeah, let's go 32. Yeah, let's go 32. Because I want to put a fuse box in the wall. Okay, and I want it to expand to up here as well. Okay, so cut that and lift it up. Like so. And I will pull that back, push that up, there we go, covers all of that. And here I will also cut it in half, and because it's a big unit here, I'm going to actually trim that down so it can fit in all of this, although I do want to use this texture. There we go. And boom. Okay, so here's my little hole in the wall, and I'm gonna use this texture here, the concrete modular floor. That's what I'm gonna put in here. And I'm probably gonna be pushing this forward in a second, but first I want to get a fuse box in there. Okay. I'll go with this fuse set, and I disable the shadows, rotate and push it in. So we want it only just in, maybe a bit further than that. We want to fit in some square beams in front of it. We want just enough space for both the fuse box and the square beams. I'm going to push this forward now. These walls right here, you want to use, you can just use basic metal textures like the ones we used up here, but I'm going to show off the more fancy method, and you use this square beam rusty texture. Then you want to align it so that where the hell is it? Oh, gonna push that in. Okay, so you want this bit here, where it's got the same texture as the square beam, and then you want that all the way around. There you go. So that's much more fancy. In fact, I probably should push that in a bit. Now that I think about it, I'm going to grab them all. Okay, so now I'm going to pull that out, and there we go. So now I'm going to put the square beam in front of all of these holes, and now we're going to add little bits of tile in front of the square beams. So to do this, I'm going to, you can again paint the sides individually in this, but that just takes so long that it is never worth it to do that. At this stage, just use metal. It's not worth it. Unless you really want to, but you don't have to paint the sides of the tile piece in that. Anyway, so you want 2 units, and you want to cut it up. So these are little gaps in the wall that lead to these areas, so it makes it much more natural. And you can have some of them be special concrete texture, which we'll be seeing a lot of later on. This one, concrete modular floor. So then you can just place these around like so. So what you can do with these is you can still use the bigger units and put them in the tile and have them cut off by the concrete bit, or just a gap. You can still do that. You don't have to stick to these 32 by 32 units for these. Feel free to use any texture you want, no matter how big. You can use this 256 one if you really want to, but I'd still stick to things of this size and have them cut off like that. This is that mostly finished one. I think I'll have a bit more of that. I'll have that right there, and make sure these all have unique textures. There we go. So this is what I'll be using for this one. I'll move that just a tiny bit. There we go. So there is a very basic wall decoration. Another thing you can do, I'll do this, keep forgetting. This texture, the concrete one, you can make that just a tiny bit smaller, like so. Just 1 unit smaller than the black tiles there. So that's the basic one. Now on to more interesting stuff. So I'm going to create a bit of destroyed wall right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of a destroyed piece there. Then I'll have a curved destroyed piece there, and it'll curve into this piece of ceiling here, which I'll have also be destroyed. Show you what I mean. Your best friends here, you'll find at wall dest. These will be used a lot, these top 4. I'm going to use this one at the bottom. So that I can see all this. I'm going to hide all of that, and I'm going to push you in there. Then one above that. I'll do this, and I want that rotated towards here because it is curving inwards. So when you're doing these pieces, you can either put the concrete behind them, or you can put metal behind them. I mean, you can put either metal or concrete behind those, but I think concrete just makes the fuse box look a bit more in place. Okay, so that's a very basic level of that wall, and before I continue any more of that wall, I'm going to show you it combining with the ceiling. Okay, what I want to do is turn it into a bit of a broken piece of wall, and I'll have it be pushed by this and be pushing this. It'll be meeting there, sort of like curve. So anyway, I'm going to remove that. Okay, and in this section up here, I want to turn it all into metal, like that. I also want to push this back a little. Okay, so in here, that's the basic shape I'll be going with for this area. Okay, so those are the models I will use for that bit. However, before I continue any further, I want to put a vac tube in here. I'm going to put one solid like that. And next up, I'm going to put some little pieces on these parts of the wall, like here, these tiles. I'm going to put some of those kind of things on this. So anywhere where I see decent enough of space, I'll try and fit one in. Okay, now I'm going to alter the size a bit, make it a more natural, interesting shape. Okay, and now I'm going to make some of them the concrete texture. I think this one, this one, this one, this one. And I'll shrink that down a bit. Oh wait, they're all a bit big, so I'll shrink them all down. There we go. So that's that done. I'm going to turn this piece into a front detail. Using front details is more optimised. Now I'm going to grab all of this. I'm also going to grab down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it so that it's sort of making a curve with this part of the wall here. And I'll also rotate the wall as well. Okay, so just very slight curve. No, even a slighter curve than that. Yep, that's good. And then this section here, then I'm going to grab all of this, and this bit I'm going to rotate even more. Okay, and then this piece right here, I rotate more than all the other ones. And then I'll also be moving the wall, but before I move the wall, I want to throw some stuff on here. I actually think I will switch to a concrete back there. And I'm also going to move this piece out. Obviously we can combine both the wall desk models and the square beams. And we can also have these white walls be the pieces of wall that are getting cut off like that. Now something you can do with your square beams and your tiles, you push them out ever so slightly like that, just rotate them. They've been pushed out, and if they are connected with another one, you can disconnect them. Don't have to be blind for this. Like this one's more pushed out than that one is. Okay, and there we go. And I'm just going to turn it all into a funk detail. Now I want to go here and do some more. Okay, and another thing you can do with these, not only can you just use a white tile to put on these, but you can stick a complete white tile onto one of these destroyed things. And the way you should go about this is you rotate it a bit, push it so it's pointed down and to the side. I just realised it's the other model that you can do that with. Yeah, that was silly of me. I'll just switch back to the old one. Okay, so let's all see the pattern. Make a destroyed wall, throw up tiles on it, make some of the tiles concrete variant. And try not to make the area you leave it on just flat. Try to push it out like what I'm about to do. So, a moment ago we made the ceiling curved. Now, I'm going to make this curved. And we'll get them to just meet each other. Okay. And in fact I want to push this bit a little bit more. So slight rotation there. Okay, and there we go. So we've now created the curve. You know what? Here I'm going to cut that in half because at the top that's metal. I'm going to make this bit metal so it doesn't create a abrupt change. So it's clear that both the wall and the ceiling, they're both hitting each other, they're interacting with each other, and that will be a recurring theme with the entire way I do Overgrown aesthetic. Quite often I see very flat work with walls and ceilings where they will just do things like this and they won't have their ceilings and the walls feel like they're collapsing, barely holding on. So here, the only reason the ceiling hasn't just covered this area here and just destroyed everything is because this tiny bit of wall is barely holding on. So, and before I do any more walls, I want to put in a observation room because, you know, I don't want to make destruction then realise I wanted to put a observation room there. I think I'm going to put it here. I think that would look nice. Okay, this is going to be 256 units. Okay, and I'll build the shape of the room, so I don't want anything too big. I think maybe 192 units should be enough. One thing I often see people forget in their observation runs is a door. You need to always include a door. Now there are a few ways you can go about doing a door. I'm going to put in a sliding door, and that's mainly because I actually want another area in here. But you can also use the door texture, this one, and in fact I will show you how to use them. So now, observation rooms, they are a great opportunity for you to hide in a little Easter egg. There'll be a broken glass window here, and you'll have to shoot a portal in here, in through a slightly broken sliding door, and then there'll be a secret little room you can explore. You can of course portal into here. These walls are portable textures, so you can get into the observation room if the window is broken. So they'll be able to get into here, but there won't be anything too interesting. The main Easter egg will be in there. I have some basic office decoration, like in my office tutorial video. And I'll have a sliding door piece like this, and I'm going to make it like very visibly broken. We don't want player thinking that they can get in. So the best way to do this is you get the sliding door piece like this rather than the normal model, and then you just push it open like that. So you know that clearly won't work. Okay, so right here I'm going to put in a different kind of door. So this is what I told you about, the texture version. That's what I'm going to put in here. There are a number of ways of doing doors, but this is the most common way you'll actually see in this room. So it'll be quite rare that you see sliding doors in this room. Usually what you see is what I'm about to do right now. Okay, so this texture here. Okay, now you'll have to change the size just a tiny bit in order to fit it. Yeah, there we go. So make sure your observation rooms always include a door. It's very frustrating when I see that people forget that, because how the hell are people getting into that room if there's no door? Okay, so I'm done with in here. Now to do the actual observation room. So first up you want a window. So you can use a variety of things for this. I'm just going to use broken glass textures. So to find this you just find these glass fracture stuff. So on the left I'm going to have that one that's it's fractured but it's intact. And on the right I'm going to have one that's completely broken. I think I'll go for the one with the hole right there. So you can shoot a portal in there, then jump down and come out here. Another thing you can do such glass. You can use this texture here, dirty one, which is the same one I used over here. And if you really want, you can also use the, where is it? Here we go. Observation windows, which is the ones that PTI puts on their observation rooms. However, this glass is one-sided, do keep that in mind. So if you want to make an area you can go into, it'll have to be on both sides. For this section here, I'm just going to be speeding over it, as I'll be using the office style for my office tutorial video. So if you want to learn more about detailing these kind of areas, you can watch that video too. Okay, and to make your sort of chair able to be picked up and thrown about by the player, you need to make it physics override. Now only do this in a situation where the player can't just pick it up and use it to block a laser, because the player could just pick it up and use it to block a laser. In my map there isn't any lasers, so that's not a problem. Just make it prop dynamic, but in this situation we can make it prop physics override, which is more fun because it's fun to throw around chairs. Now you'll often see observation rooms, they have ceiling lamps like this, which are turned off. All you have to do for that is just make the skin 1, because that is the darkest variant, as you can see. All these, 1 is the darkest one, so that's what we use for off. So we want like a darkish, greenish blue, that's good. Then we want the colour maybe brightest of like 15, no fourth of distance, because this is for the whole room. Okay, so now that we're done with the office area, I'm now just going to go around and do destruction like this all around. If I'm doing anything unique or notable, I'll pause the time lapse and I'll talk about it. But for now, I'm just going to build things and you can look at all the variations. Another model you can use is this lovely broken wall panel model. There are a couple of variations of this. There's one with a hole, one without a hole, and a 256 variant. So another thing you can do, which we'll get onto this model a bit more later, but for now I want to use it for a use that it's not intended for. So if you get this bit of rubble that's meant for the floor, you're actually able to rotate it and it can be used in a wall. So just push it in there. So there we go, and then in front of that I will put some tiles. Another thing you can do, you can use the other side of this model and it sort of looks like a brand new model. So sometimes something you can do is in these little areas behind these destroyed walls, you can actually have tiny little behind the scenes zone. I've seen times when people make a massive behind the scenes area, but that's not what I'm about to do. So I'll sort of just base this little area up here of the behind the scenes area you see in Portal 2, where it shows you the secret wall. I'm just doing this from memory, but this is essentially the idea. You've got catwalks, vert doors, lots of metal textures. And last of all, I'll have a vac tube going across. And inside the vac tube, I can put some props, some cubes, some turrets that are just lying there because the power is out. To make water. You probably already know how to do this, but if you don't, it's quite simple. Okay, just want to fit it in here. Good. You don't want any portable textures in the water. And then the top layer, we want toxic slime. Go for this one, and then we fit. Next step, we duplicate and make a trigger alert. Set the damage to 500. And before I do the ceiling, I want to do down here. So portal is right there, so we need to put prop on that. Oh, there it is. and we want skin 2 because this is a orange portal, and this portal is always on, so I don't need to set this up to turn off, so you just leave it like that. Okay, and I didn't leave the space for a fuse box, but there are other things you can put behind here. You can put wires. There you go. Other things you can do, you can just put numbers. I usually just put like the time or something. Date is 13th of January, so I'm just going to put a 13 in here. Actually, I want to use the white number. I think that would look better. Yeah. Which usually means in my maps you'll never see numbers over 31. Okay, well, another thing you can do actually with these areas, which I probably should have shown off earlier, but on top of here, not just tiles and concrete tiles and metal tiles, you could also put grates. Although this does not happen in the main game, as far as I remember, it still looks pretty good. So we don't need to obey the rules of the main game, we can do what we like. Although I tend not to use grates in this aesthetic because they do sort of give you more of a construction feel rather than a deconstruction feel. That could just be me, but that's my interpretation. I'm going to put invisible clips to stop players from getting inside or stuck on these little bits when they try to jump down. And of course we've got the water there. And oh yeah, we're going to need to make all the props have render and fast reflections. Any prop that would be visible there, and yeah, that one-shots you. And drop that in there. Sometimes you can have it so that it dissolves the cube. All you need to do is just put in a portal cleanser there. That only works on physics objects, and there you go. But it doesn't really matter, because if it's in there, it's not really accessible anyway. It doesn't really make a difference if it dissolves or not. No! Interesting. Okay, so you should have a kill trigger at the bottom then. Never mind. Put a kill trigger at the bottom anyway, because if you don't put a kill trigger, when you dissolve it, it will fly out because, I don't know, it's really light and light objects in water fly. So this is the fancy way of doing this. Usually what people do is they just dissolve the cube, then spawn it like a second after. But this is the fancy way, where there's already a cube in the dropper when you dissolve it. So we'll trigger multiple. Okay, on start touch, cube, and outputs. So, you know the on user one stuff that you never ever use? Well, we're about to use that. On user one, self, colon, dissolve, colon 0, colon 1. And then in the button, rather than telling the cube to dissolve, we tell it to fire user 1. Tell you what, right here, I'm going to put a broken piece of wall, like this. Okay, I'll have to expand that over to there. And then to continue the line, I think I'll set up some cables. end of spark, because the wiring here has clearly been damaged, so it's going to be sparking whenever it's triggered. Because that's quite high up, I think I'll increase that a bit. Okay, there we go. The trig multiple wasn't set up correctly. I don't have it on physics objects, which I need to, and now that I think about it, this should say end touch. Yeah, because if it was on start touch, the one in here would also fizzle, so if it's on end touch, it hits this, opens, it's now no longer touched it, so then it triggers this, and it will be given that. Yep, that drops, that closes. Press that again, that fizzles, yep, all good. And there's another problem with this map, right here. So, what's happening here is this button is set up that when you stand on it, it sets the animation to open, and when you get off, it sets the animation to close. But if you get off and on really fast like this, you can see it jumps between the start of both animations. Now this is a flaw that loads of professional maps have. I think even Valve includes it sometimes, even though they do know the solution. And I'm about to show you the solution, so if you consider yourself a professional mapper, you might want to listen to this. So, you do not... This is not how you do it. This is not how you do it. You don't have it set to a different animation. You always want it set to the same animation. You want to get the animation, the close animation, and set that as the default animation in here. Hold on, no, because of the brush there, I can't actually do that, so I'll have to send it via a logic auto. So once that has been set, then what we can do is set default animation close, and I'll do that like a second after. Okay. And make sure it's set to hold animation, and what you do is rather than changing the animation, you set playback rate. So on pressed, you set it to -1, and on unpressed, you set it to 1. So set playback rate -1, so that plays the animation in reverse, and playback rate 1 plays it forwards. It doesn't jump to any point of the animation, it's always at the same point, it's either going forwards or backwards. And it holds animation, so once it reaches the end point, it will stay there. So this is the method you use. I'll show you in game right now. Although, hold on, there will be it will move at the start, that's fine, it's not actually going to be visible. Or no, okay. Oh, right, yes. No, not default animation, just animation. Sorry, not default animation. Okay. Because it's a holding animation, so it's not gonna want to leave. Default animations and hold animations don't go together. Yeah, there we go. Don't worry about that, unless you want to start your map in front of the thing, the moving panel, that's not gonna be a problem. If you do, I'm sorry, your life's ruined. Anyway, look at this. Brilliant. Brilliant. Look at that. Look at that. Smooth. Seamless. And again, many professional mappers don't include this. I've seen very good mappers do the bad technique from earlier. So I'm going to set up this area properly. Now this area, that's a bit high. I don't know why my button's so high. So we're going to use our best friend, the square beam texture. honestly, in an overgrown style, this is our best friend. Oh, hold on, this is the wrong model. There's a damaged version. There's two damaged versions. There's a very damaged and a slightly damaged. I only use the slightly damaged one because I like having the little icon on there. And we're using, again, our best friend, square beam texture. Put that in all the corners. So there. There. Okay, I believe I am done there, although I do want to bring this down to here to complete the frame, and there we go. Now, something I do want to include is a little trigger on here that will shatter the glass if you or the cube hit it too fast. I'll be skipping over most of the making of this shattering window as it's fairly complicated and it's not entirely relevant to the purpose of the tutorial, as it's more of a neat detail than anything else. All you really need to gain from this is the fact that these windows inside the test, much like the observation rooms, are also able to use cracked glass models. Yep, enough stalling, it's time for the actual ceiling. So, first off I'm just going to delete this thing because I'm not going to use that. So over here we can't do too much as we have to work with this thing. So what I'll set up right now is some square beams. Most of the wall stuff just applies to the ceilings as well, so you can use these models on the ceiling. Next I apply the tiles. And then I cut it up. And now we add in the concrete pieces. Turn it into a funk detail. Okay, and that's that piece. Okay, and over here, for only some of the wall, tend to avoid this for the majority of it. Sometimes you can just use a complete brush. I think over here, because this area has lots of support and obviously needs to be clear for the thinning. And then this part can be prop. Okay, this is interesting because that clips there, which is annoying. I'm going to use this one, which cuts off. Put that there, and there we go. Now, cuts off on that bit, and it all fits. So I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. So now I'm going to do this part of the ceiling. So here, actually I'll do it here. Okay, before I do it, I do want the brush side of this because, again, this is where filling is happening through here. So I need all this to be clear. So I want brush ceilings over there. So this bit will be solid ceiling, and these bits is where it starts to break. So in these two sections here and here, I want the wall curving like this, and the ceiling is then connected to this curve and will be also dropping down. So first off, I'm going to make the ceiling. So we'll use these. Okay, nice, and now I'll give each segment some of this ceiling tiles. That's the ceiling, and now we need the wall. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll use this prop. Oh, I just realised shadows aren't disabled. Always disable shadows. And you know what? Here I'm going to use frames, actually, framework. Whenever you use these, use no spec. The normal version often has weird lighting in dark areas. No spec gets rid of that weird lighting. I always use no spec. Nowadays, I suppose I didn't always use it, but I do now. Okay, now that we're done making that wall, it's time to curve everything. Okay, so I want to grab all the funk details, all the props here. All the funk details, all the props, even on the wall. Okay, so now that we've got everything, now we curve it ever so slightly. So let's rotate that just a bit more. Okay. So have a look at that. You can do a bit more, do a bit more. Is that too much now? I'd say we can work with this. Okay. So now we deselect the bottom there. And now we curve some more. And make sure this lines up with this layer as well. Okay, nice. Now we deselect this layer and we curve some more. see the pattern here, slowly deselecting more layers. So we deselect this layer now. Okay, curve. That was far too much curving. Okay, tiny bit more. Okay, and now I'm going to deselect this. So we just have these bits selected. And I'm actually going to deselect this bit because it's starting to disconnect from the area it's supposed to be connected to, and just focus on this. So those two just curve a lot more, and there, I'm done with that part of the wall. And I'm going to grab this bit and reconnect it, and also rotate it just a tiny bit. Okay, so that's reconnected, and deselect the top bits there, and rotate that one a whole bunch. And there we have it. So this is the big wall curving into the ceiling. So wall breaks apart, curves into the ceiling, and yeah, I think it might be worth it if we turn this into two separate ones actually. Okay, I like it, it's just I don't think it's got enough structural support. I'm going to expand it so that one and that tile, yeah, that tile and that tile are also included in all of this. Alright, nice, and now I want something similar set up over here. I don't have as much space, so it's not going to be as fancy. Yet to even start the floor. I'm like 5 hours in and I haven't even placed a single plant, I've just realised that. Yeah, so make sure before you rotate everything's correctly touching or correctly aligned. And once you're certain, grab it all and rotate. That's all I'll do for the wall. Ceiling, I'll continue. Oh no, I just realized wrong. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart. That wasn't aligned correctly. And to be honest, I can't really work with a piece that big. So I'm gonna have to switch it into 2 of these. Get one of those. One of these. Okay, now I'll grab everything. So try to make the rotation between each piece as natural as possible. So, you know, you don't want just abrupt. Although abruptly dropping there doesn't actually look that bad, but I still want it to look quite natural. And over here, I still want to have pieces of ceiling, just not heavily rotated ceiling. So I'll just have that, and I can still fit a bunch of things on here. You know, I think this is taking up too much space in the room. I'm going to delete this and instead have this one be this piece that sort of breaks apart. There, see, I've got a lot more space now, much more open. Over here I'm going to tile it up, and then I'll rotate it ever so slightly. Ooh, also, throw up some square beams, connect here. Now I am going to give them all unique textures and do ever so slight rotations, because this is again here, we don't want to get in the way too much. Okay, and there we go. I mean, obviously there's no lighting in yet, no plants either, but that will be the basic shape that we'll work with. Well, we can't really call it basic at this point, but you get the idea. That right there, that is not very varied. I'm going to change that right now. I think I'll have some of them be destroyed models and some of them be just different textures. Okay, there is a unique texture I like to use sometimes on the ceiling. I think this is the one. It's a very odd texture, so careful when using it. I think it goes better when used in back areas like this. Where's a good spot to put it? I think back here, yeah. This is where this texture goes best. So in these behind panel areas, this texture works well, this texture works well, and that texture works well, and the metal texture works well. I think I'm going to have another one of those here actually, because this concrete texture gets a bit too much use. You know what, I can actually use the darker variant there. There we go. Onto the floor. So making the floor, decorating the floor, you do want to consider where all the rubble from the ceiling is going to end up. So if you tell by all this, there's going to be lots of rubble around here because of all this. There'll be a decent amount around here because of all that. Loads of this would have fallen into the water actually, but it'll also be surrounding this area. And there could be a tiny bit around these areas. But the highlights are here and here. Some here. Oh, you know, there'd be a decent amount here. So any white area that isn't a required spot, we are able to get rid of. So all this I'm able to turn into destroyed floor, but I think I'm gonna focus on right here. I do want to keep a little bit of this white because it is actually useful in the puzzle, even though it's not quite as useful. So I think I'll cut right here. I'm gonna cut just before it touches the water. Units, so that's good. So there's a couple ways you can do floor destruction. I'll show you them. I do need to take into account this, but it should be fine. It's time for our best friend to return, the square beam. Okay, now I'm going to do something a little strange. I'm going to use a displacement. Okay, so I will use, where is it? So, displacement, create for like power 3. That texture's disgusting. Never mind, we're not using this texture. I think I might just use regular dirt then. We'll use regular dirt. So this is just a bit of terrain. So below the tiles, a bit of ground is formed. bit of grass might be growing on this. Okay, that's good, and I'll just use a bit of noise. Max for, there we go, so it's a bit more natural. And on top of that, on top of this dirt, I'm going to put a moss texture on top. It's a bit big, so I'll just shrink that down. So this is like bits of grass. I can also combine other moss textures together. And there we go. On top of this, we're going to get our favourite model, and this time we don't have to rotate it, we can use its natural rotation. Okay, and I'm going to hide those bits because they're not visible. Well, I'm going to delete them, I mean. Okay, so now we want tiles on top of these. Okay, and now I'm able to rotate these. So what I'm just going to do is have them sort of pushed in towards the centre. And because you're of course walking over this, you do want to put a play clip over all of this, because it could get very annoying walking over all these little bumps and rotations and all that nonsense there. So just throw a player clip on top of all of it. Okay, I'm going to hide that for now, because there's still lots more to do with this. Okay, so we want some rubble to put inside. You'll never guess what we have to search. We're going to use a moss variant. So for each variant there's clean rubble, and there's moss rubble, and we just put it sort of in there, submerged in all the dirt. And on the other side we're going to get this model, the 192 one, because this one is sort of positioned on a wall, as you can see. Now I'm going to make a couple plants around here on this patch of dirt. So all the plants are found by searching foliage. I'm going to get some ferns. I like the fern model. Other variations of ferns too. There's also these smaller ferns. There are trees in this. They're never used in the main game. They're in the files because they're used in the Super 8 trailer. I never use them. You can if you want, but they don't really fit. And okay, now I'm gonna have to stick to the bushes. So I'm gonna have bush 1 in the center of this. Okay, it's nice. And now we want to go to all the edges, and we want to fill them in with some of these. Oh, by the way, oops, I just realised I made a mistake. Make these prop dynamic. Yeah, all your plants should be prop dynamic. Put that right here. up the sides. More plants. Okay, yeah, so I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to do over here, and I just noticed this bit needs some Antlines, so I'm going to do that before, just so I just did some tidying up. And now I am back to doing some flooring. So I want to do right here, so I'm going to do a bit more basic than the stuff I did there. I'm going to get some rubble first. Yep, I'm going to go for 256. Keep in mind this is where the ceiling collapses, so there's going to be lots of rubble on the floor here. I am covering some indicator lights, but who cares? No one cares about that, right? I know there are some really nitpicky people in the workshop, but hopefully people aren't too stupid. I mean, if you look at that, it's kind of obvious. Okay, and once you've placed that, you can place some moss beneath it, like so. So then a bit of moss comes out from under. Where's the... Need to make sure it hits all nearby brushes. Oh, what do I use? Anything new? No. And I also want some concrete on the floor. Where is it? Here it is, debris concrete, that's a good one. So you can just place that around. And next I'll throw on some more foliage. So probably have some more ferns over here. You keep in mind this area here is getting lots of sunlight. So anywhere where there's a high concentration of sunlight, you want more plants, and you want to use the alive plants in those areas. Okay, there are more good ones. The large leaves is a good ones. This right here. Is that a bit too big? I think that's a bit too big. Let's see if we can get it a bit smaller. Tell you what, I could put this in and I could put it on top. Put it up there. Okay. You can also have this going across this section here. And now I'm going to put some moss up here, some of this type of moss. Okay, there we go. So having moss beneath the plants just makes it feel more real, because where there's one plant there's going to be a billion more. So wherever you place a plant, well, 9 times out of 10 you should put moss there too. I do tend to use this this version of moss more than I use this one. I think this one just being more subtle I kind of prefer. Still do use this one from time to time, but this one's my go-to moss. Up here I'm going to have some more foliage, because like I just said, where's one foliage there's often a billion more. I think I'll have a bush. So during this section I muted myself due to noise in the background, and I ended up forgetting to unmute myself. So for the next about 30 minutes of footage I was muted. So instead I'm just going to narrate what I see in the sped up version. Okay, so I'm continuing to put more moss and plants around this area. Like I said, billion plants, great. So the button felt like it needed some plants. It was a bit odd having that one section, not having any plants in the middle of all that foliage galore. So I think I'm going around and I'm disabling shadows. As a big thing, you need to disable shadows on your plants, because the plants will create some very annoying shadows if you don't do that. So here I'm adding some more dead vines because in this section there's not as much light reaching. I'm still putting in some moss, still putting in a few plants here, but there's a lot less life than there is in the other sections because here it gets much less sun. Of course, it's still good to have lots of foliage, as that makes your map way more interesting. So that there are lots of dry and dead variants of all the plants. They all have dry and dead variants, so you can use whichever you want based on the situation you need. I'm just going around filling up any areas that need some plants with plants. And by edges, you can see I'm using sort of grassy thing there. It's got like a bush, angular. There's different variants of it. There's a 128 one, 64 one. I think it's also a 256 one. And it's good for filling edges. You can put them by walls. You can put them by edges, like I just did there. And there I'm combining lots of smaller fern models to create one big one. And of course, to finish it all off, I add in some moss. Okay, so over here I'm now doing another method of decorating the floors. So just like I did before, I'll be cutting a hole in the floor. So just like we did before with the one with the displacement, cut a hole about 16 units deep, and then the sides will be the square beam texture. And for the floor here, I use one of the concrete textures that we used for the walls. You'll see that in a second. So you can also use metal, you can use the framework, you can use everything that we use for the background of the walls, but on the floor. But first I fill it out with square beams though. And for convenience, do try to have your pits like this fit square beams, because you do want to fill them up with square beams, and if they just can very easily fit them, wonderful. So similar thing to the one we did with the displacement, however this time we're not going to be putting in a displacement there. We're still putting in some rubble. I'm using the brown variant of this moss. This one just seems a bit more dead and this area is a bit out of the sun, so I thought it was suitable. Although I do think I might switch that to green later, I can't remember. And yet you can add lots of that concrete texture from earlier beneath. Makes it feel like that rubble actually did smash down there and had little shards of it on the floor. Don't stick with this, I'm just experimenting. But this is like a big, like really detailed sort of like corner piece you can have in your maps. If you've got like a corner, I try putting it in the water, but I end up just going for the small version there. They're not really used, as far as I'm aware, much in Portal 2. I can't tell you the map that they are used in, but they're there if you want them. And once again, I use the ferns to fill up the map, and I use some dead plants where a bit less light's going to be hitting. So now we're slightly touching on wall foliage here, so foliage growing up the walls, and I have it hanging over the ceiling ever so slightly. And then I have the moss placed around it, like I always do. And then here I'm adding in some concrete tiles to keep the floor varied. So lots of variation of plants. You can see I used bushes there, I used ferns, and I used the large leaves, and I used moss as well. I used every plant under the sun. Now Valve, they didn't really go too overboard with their plants like I do here. One reason this could be is just that we've got better computers now, so back then they had to have a strict limit of how many models are in the map, but now we can go crazy and we can add as much detail as we want. Besides the rubble and the tiles, there's also these models here, which are pretty good. These are the debris models. That can work, yep. Copy the paste, and I'll put a bit of this up here as well. There's not much space there, but if we fit it easily enough up here, there we go. I always want to have my rubble somewhere where you can point out where it came from. So this clearly came from up there. In here there's lots of room for this sort of stuff. Okay. Last of all, I think I'm going to go around to lots of these pieces of wall here and just add in some of these emerald bush models just coming out the wall. There are lots more tiles and debris models you can use. I just don't really have the space to use most of this stuff. I usually like using this one. You know, I think I'm going to try and find a spot to use it because it is a nice one. So all I have to do, just rotate that. Yeah, now I'd say I'm done with foliage on the floor and just other destruction on the floor. I'm going to do foliage on the walls. Most foliage on the walls is really just up here. You don't really get much in the way of foliage on like the mid-level. You can have some moss up there I suppose, but that's about it. So in here we'll probably keep like clean from moss because it's not, I mean just plants in general. It's not really a spot where they're likely to reach. First up, I'll do some in this corner here. No, this corner. So there's lots of good foliage to use for this. So this is a good one. So it's like a very thick wall of leaves, and that's rotated the wrong way. So just put that high up. We don't want that clipping into there. Okay, it's still obvious where that outline goes. And we're going to have another thick one over here, although it is. Ooh, yeah, this is a good one. Should be able to fit it right here. Okay, there we go. Another one I want to put is this one. And I'll put this just beneath this indent in the wall we made a while ago. Nice. So again, wherever we put foliage, it's a great idea to put down a bunch of moss. So now we want to create vines going all over the room. So copy that. So vine suspended, these are the ones we want for this. So I want to set this up so it's like going all over the room. It's like how we do with cables. And in fact, I'll probably use cables later, but anyway. Let's go this from there, and then I want to bring it somewhere else. So use the same model because there really aren't too many models for this. Although that gap is quite small, so we might be able to get away with one. Let's see, so cluster loop is another one we can use, but it is it's a bit smaller than the suspended one. Okay, that hits. That just about hits. Because this bit gets less light, we're going to use a bit a different one. Oh, actually, this one should work well. Nice. Yeah, so we want lots of foliage going all over the room. We don't just want it all concentrated in one area. We want it spread out across anywhere where the light touches. Okay, and I want another different violet going from over here, across here. Then maybe it also connects here, I don't know. Okay, over here I'm going to use a cluster loop, and again, I think I'll use one of the more dry ones, because the dry ones do have this nice mossy bit that comes on. Even though they do look a bit more dead, they still have lots of unique detail. I'm going to have to use one of the complete like hanging props because I'm running out of space. Yeah, so this one's quite good, but I think there's a better one I'm after. Can't remember what it's called. Is it just hanging? Cluster hanging. Oh, maybe. Yep, that's it. So we just grab this, put it right there. There we go, it's all connected. Then I think I'll connect this up to here. There we go, that's nice. We could send it up to there, and then across, maybe we could send, let's see, up to here, then maybe here, then reconnect all at the center. Okay, let's see if we can do that. There. Yep. Okay. It all links. My entire network of vines are all connected. Brilliant. Okay, so the foliage down here, it's safe to say, is done, unless I notice something terrible when I load in. Now, this model here, you remember from earlier, so I'm going to duplicate it, and there is a special kind of foliage for this one. Can't remember exactly which one it is. It's here somewhere. Oh, is this it? Oh, found it, yep. So it's a large leaves ceiling 1 and 2. So 1 and 2, they're the same, except 1 has more. Okay, so we leave that there. Next is the above ceiling area. Currently all we have is the spaces for each of the sections. And we need to fill them in. Don't worry, it's not as detailed as down here, it's quite basic. First off, we'll do down here, which we're going to need prop statics. So we're going to use wall dest. We're going to use these wall dests. Okay. So what we do with this is we 0, 0, 0. So we need to position this so that it's falling through like the second layer into the main test chamber. So this is a bit of rubble, or debris that's destroyed the test chamber to some extent. The other one, this is also useful, well, this section 3 as it's called. So you will scatter it with lots of debris. Triple pipes come across. Make this really just stupidly long, then copy it, rotate, place it across, make sure that all hits. We can make another one of those, and place it in the third layer. There we go, so there's lots of stuff blocking the view between here and the sky, and also on the top layer I'm also going to have some catwalks visible, like in here. And actually I've just remembered I should be making this one, where is it? Making these LOD because you can't actually touch them. Nice. Okay, so framework dest. Yeah, this is a good one. Anyway, so I like positioning this thing in a way where it looks like it's contributed to destroying everything. There we go. Nice. Oh, yeah. Lots and lots of overgrown goodness. Okay, so next up I think we'll do proper lighting. Now this is a big one. Overgrown lighting, this is going to take quite a while. Right, yeah, so let's get straight into this. So, we're not using constant lighting, it's all going to be quadratic. Okay, so we're going to use lots of different colours of quadratic lighting all over the area. Okay, so where is this light? Here it is. Let's bring that down. So I want about 60. So this light here is going to be light that I place anywhere where there should be a different amount of sun breaking in through all this area. I'm going to put one like here, maybe. So I want one there. want one over here, and I want one in the middle. I also want one up here as well, because there is light that is coming in from up here by like the skybox that I want to be visibly lighting up the catwalk and the pipe there. Okay, and anywhere that isn't visible to the sun, instead we're going to give it a blue light instead, and quite a strong blue light. You'll see in real life that usually how it works is the area that the sun directly hits is a bit more yellow, and all the shadowy areas where the sun misses is quite blue. So that's what we're replicating here with this blue light. There is a light environment which entity which does do this there, but it's less controlled than just putting quadratic lights all over the place. So yeah, that's why. So I want this at about light level 40. Okay, and I'm also going to need one, I think, about up here. So now we're going to do some yellow lights on the floor. So where, oh actually I can put a blue light in here. Although I do think I should go for a darker one as this is deeper down. So I think I will make it a bit darker actually. Let me make it like 20 instead. Because there's a orange portal there, I'm actually going to put another light down here, and I'm going to make it just a strong orange. There we go. That should look nice. So now down here on the bottom layer we're going to have some yellow lights because that's the area that the sun's hitting directly. There we go. And I want that about 30. That up. Okay, so let's scatter that around the place. So one there. Let's go over here. That's a decent way away. That should still be hitting there. On this level, I'll be changing the colour of lights I'm going for. So bottom level, we're doing yellowy. Next level is changing to a sort of like greenish yellow, and this one's going to get a bit darker because so we're going for a sort of greeny colour to give more emphasis on all the green of all the plants, and if there's a bunch of green light bouncing around the place, that'll make everything feel a lot more overgrown. Is that too close to the blue light? I think I'll put it a bit lower. Don't want it too bright one, so we want this one at like light level about 20. Anyway, so we'll just place that around the place, maybe where I see some focus of plants. Yeah, definitely up here by the bottom. And let's it right here as well. Okay. And now just give some specific things of light. So I think in this room, I think I'll give it like a dim blue light because there would be too much light reaching in here. So I just give it like this. And here I'll give a similar thing. I think I'll make it a bit more brighter, a bit less white maybe. Bit more white, I mean. Forward. Door should have a light. I'm going to give the door a sort of like greenish, bluish. It will have to be quite bright to fight against this light right here. I'll put that a bit closer. The buttons need red lights. So we'll go for a nice sort of pinkish, reddish colour. Not too bright, I think like 8 for this button is probably enough. There we go. And we'll have light here as well on this button. However, because this one's a big button, use like 15, so it'll be much brighter. And same with there. Okay, that should be lighting mostly done, although I do want these bushes themselves to have strong green lights on them, or stronger greenish yellow lights on them, because they are getting directly hit by the sun, so they would be bouncing off some green light around the area. So I'll just put green lights on them, that will do just that. Last of all, up here, we're going to create everyone's favourite projected texture. So in the projected texture, call this project X1. Okay, and I'm going to move it to about here-ish. Okay, and point down there. How far does that reach? Not very, but we can deal with that. Enabled, always update. Farsi, no, 1,000, I meant 1,000. Does that cover everything? Yep, that covers everything. Okay, and the colour, we're going for a strong orange. Strong orangey yellow. There we go, that's a nice one. Go for intensity of 500 and brightness scale 3. Could go brighter if you wanted, but just like that. I use flashlight 03, I don't know why, I just do. That seems to be most good. Enable shadows, that's a big one. Actually, brightness of 5 I'll probably go for. And nothing too much blocking that, right? I might want to reposition this. I think there's a bit too much in the way. Instead, I'm going to go for a bit of a wider FOV. Also want, I'm going to do this a bit differently. I'll go for more like that kind of colour. I'll put loads of them inside of. Where did that go? I don't know where that went, but okay. So we're going to put loads of them inside the leaves. Rather than just one. Same over here, just a couple inside of the leaves. Although, one more thing I saw here, these plants, to stop them being just all black, which is annoying, I am going to make them drop statics. Next up, I'm going to set up the fog. I'm going to do some fog and HDR work, because at this stage there isn't much I can do without knowing my tone mapper settings and my fog settings. Okay, so tone mapper. Just call this fog 1 in case I want to have multiple fogs. Okay, fog enable, yep. Primary fog colour, I'm going to go for a blue fog. You can go for more yellowy kind of fogs if you want. I'm going to go for blue. And I want it to end like quite a while away. This isn't that big a run, but okay, 0.9 fog start. Let's start immediately actually. Okay, and tone map I'm going to need to make a logic auto. Last time in my office video I said my tone mapper, my usual tone map settings, I use exposure max 3, yeah, that's correct. Auto exposure max min 1, and the set tone map rate, I said in that video 5. 5 is ridiculous. 0.25 is what I actually use. I don't know why I said 5. 0.25 is a more sane number to use. Don't go for 5. I mean, you can if you really want, but I'm going to render this out and see what we've got. Okay. And here's what we've got so far. Yep. Yeah, that's looking quite nice. It's not perfect, but big improvement on what we had earlier. The fog is definitely needed so that you can get a proper feel for the map. I think I want the fog a little darker and possibly pushed back a bit. Down here's looking nice. Yeah, one more thing I'll add. I'm going to add some wind. Okay, so here we go. Let me just look at the settings I used somewhere else. Okay, so those are the settings I used for Playback Overgrown. So I'm sure those are good settings which I thought through at some point. And here's where we're at now, a bit lighter fog. I think it was better before. I think I made it worse. No, I kind of liked the old fog. I think I need to find a halfway between them both. I want it a bit lighter. Honestly, let's push it a little bit more towards green. And yeah. So, ignoring that glitchy texture right there, which I have just dealt with. Yeah, that's a bit more what I'm going for. However, I think I'm going to make it not start right in front of my face. I'll probably like cut to what I end up going with. Well, I'm happy enough with how it visually looks for now, so we're going to move on to the next thing. So we are going to do a bunch of particles now. So let's get info particle system ready. Let's see here. So we want the toxic water one. Oh, here we go, water mist. That's what it is. Okay. So I think 256 would be the version I want. I'll go with this one. Can have it start active. So I'm taking it that that's just a square. So we're going to find. Now, is that radius 256 or diameter 256? I'm going to guess diameter and just put it 128 away from everything. So let's see here. I'm going to need something I can measure 128 with better, like dev measure. There we go. Okay, so that would be a good spot, although I think the best way to go about this would be putting it there and also putting it right over here as well, so we sort of spread it out. And I want to push that then this direction. Okay, is that the correct level? Yep. And next we want the water dripping, so we can have water dripping all the way from the very top and right there. So water drip right there. I'm going to call it drip stream. I do remember this one. Here it is. So this one drops down here, lands there. I also want a leak from the other pipe, Where are you willing to drop for me? You can drop in the water. That's not as interesting as I would have hoped. I'll go for it anyway, I guess. Okay, so right there. Go. So this will drop down there into the water. Oh, hang on. I just thought of some stuff. You can get some dirt here. Put that there. Oh, that's the wrong one. I meant the overlay. Dirt. There. There. And then get some glass shards. And we'll scatter them across this floor here, because this is where that pane of glass broke. And another thing I actually want is railings. So lots of areas I think need to have railings. Come on. I mean, you know, what's aperture if not safe? So let's get some handrails in here. Nice. Okay, nice safety railings around the place. Not up here though, but down there we do. And over there. Next up, I want to make like a little platform out here. This platform serves absolutely no purpose. It just looks interesting. Okay, so we'll have grates. And next I'm going to do some basic cabling. I'm not going to be able to use the cable props I love so much. We're going to use keyframes and move ropes. So I'm going to call this wire 2-1. There we go. Because the naming sequence of these is goofy. Okay, so which way are you? You're going to make you keyframe rope. Call you 2. Bring you somewhere. I'm going to just put you there. Okay. Copy, and I'm going to put you all the way on the other side. dangling. Your slack is going to be like 90. That's decent. Yep. Wow, that fits through the hoop. It gets under all that. Yeah, that's perfect. So let's get some nice soundscapes here. I don't have a list like I did before, but what I can offer you instead is this. So this is the next best thing to my list. This is a list of some overgrown soundscapes. The one I will go with is... let's just try standard, I'm sure that's nice. Essentially, what we have to do is move things around. I can see that the water mist actually has to go seemingly just directly below the water. So here I'm going to be using the app SignMake to make a custom sign. This is a very useful software for mappers, and I highly recommend you get it if you don't already have it. So we've got different dirties. I'm going to go for a very dirty one. Something like dirty 3. This is pretty good dirt. I think it'd be funny if it just went past the number. So now what we want to do with all these is we scramble them, because I want mine to be in an original order, so I need them all scrambled. For laser birds. Okay, so it's all scrambled now, so now I can do the order that I want to do. So let's see what have we got here. We do have goop. We don't have turrets, we can grey that one out. Button stand, yes. Yes, we do have that. I'll actually keep that. Anything to do with cubes? Cube bonk? Sure. Like cube drop or something. Oh, here we go. Cube drop. Laser relay. I wanted to grey out some lasers. 6. So energy ball, I want to grey that one out. Portal Flynn, yeah, that's involved. 8. That's Portal Flynn 2. Yeah, that's involved. And last off, I think like cube, button. Those are the main pieces of this test. So, what we want is want to find that, so you can search this chamber and find the one you just made. Fit, oops, that's ugly. There we go. And now we get the square beam. Some fracture. And here we go. We can now put glass on it. Make sure each of the different pieces are a different model. So there's no repeating patterns. And now I get a light spot. That's mostly white, like 50. I think we want like 2 of them. Oh, where's the center? There's the center. Okay. And make it smaller. Actually, you know what, because yeah, so 40. Flip up a little. Okay, and then appearance, I'm gonna say less and thick looker. And there we go. And we're gonna get an ambient generic. And we're gonna have it looped and not start silent. And it's gonna be fluorescent ambience. Quietly in this corner by that light. Okay, and don't look at that again. And one more thing, we can add in more ambience, we can add in a water dripping sound. There we go. That's nice. So we can play that just below the particle system. Yeah, so here is the light in action. Maybe test jumper sign. It's enormous when you use this version, but it still looks cool. If you want to do it like this, I would recommend using a larger hallway to put it in. That's what I do in Overgrown and Seasonal Science when I use this method. It's always in a bigger area. Over here I've just remembered I should have a little symbol to signal that you need a flint here. Next, I'm going to add music to the test chamber. So there are a bunch of music's for Act 1. There's this one. This one's pretty good. Now, I personally wouldn't test to this one, so I'll just be going with a classic. For this, you can use your own music if you want. Lots of people use Bottle Stories Mel music. Okay, I'm gonna say that's it for the test chamber. Okay, so next up I'm going to do an elevator, but I'm not going to be doing this the normal way. So normally what you see on the workshop is people will just use the template elevators and just throw that in their map. The problem with that is it makes the start of every map all look the same, which that's you can see why that's a bit problematic. So personally, with like big projects of mine, Spooky, Portal Plus, Overgrown, the things I've been working on that I don't want to spoil, those big projects of mine, you start in a unique environment. I want to tell you from the very moment you load in that my map is unique. You don't have to do this if you disagree with me, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the default elevator and I am going to tear it to shreds so that the top half of it is gone. So you arrive, and then in the elevator room it's all overgrown and the top half of the elevator is all destroyed. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to explain how to do this, mainly because I'd just be using methods already shown here. Alright, it has been quite a long time and I have finished my elevator room, so here's the entry one, and here is my exit one, which is a bit more classic. This has taken a very long time and is very unnecessary. You do not need to do these fancy elevators. I'll show you them in a second what they're actually like in game, but what you really need to do is just use the 5 instances. That's perfectly fine. And you go to Maps, Instances, Turbine Elevator, then you find for the Arrival Elevator, you'll do a equivalent thing here for your departure one. But for the Arrival you use either Destructed Base 12 or Destructed Base 23. Like that, apply, and then you'll have an elevator in your map, and what you have to do is go here, duplicate, and right on top of that one. So there's two instances right there, and then we get elevator logic right there, apply, and there we go. So now this is a mostly working arrival elevator, and you just have to align this piece here with the rest of your map. And now to get it to work properly, you do need, in instances again, the transitions, you need arrival, departure, transition ints. Okay, there we go. And with this, you're able to set the movie here, and departure movie as well. So you just need to do the equivalent thing that I just did to make the arrival elevator for the departure elevator, and then all you have to do is just align them with your exit and entry doors, like so. You might have to, you can see right here, to move around things up here in order to fit that. Here I didn't really have to do that. And if it just absolutely cannot work with your skybox, you are able to use linked portal doors, which is quite a fancy technique, so you'll have to look that up elsewhere, but you should be able to get these to fit. So that's how you usually see it done in the workshop. I'll show you what I've done now. And not only have I done these elevators, I've also done a little bit more optimizing around the map, and I'll show you some final changes I made. Another lighting technique which I actually forgot to mention is these lights right here. So they're the light colour, they're also used in just a clean aesthetic, which if you already know how to do, then you'll be no stranger to this. So in an overgrown aesthetic, they're not usually absent, they're just not really too present. Usually I would have like some in a corner in an overgrown map, but here I just forgot to put them anywhere. If you don't know how to make it, just find the light cover model, and I think it has to be dynamic, and you just make a tiny indent in the wall like this, put it in the indent. You don't have to make 2 of them, you can make 3 of them if you want, you make 4, you can make any weird shape. Then you can change the skin, there are 3 variation. There's blue, there's sort of orangey yellow, and then there's just white. Okay, so like I said, I destroyed the entire top half of the elevator, and not only that, you fall from up there, and just so happen to conveniently land in the pipe. So around you, there's all the different bits of the elevator. You've got the nice weird fan thing that's normally there, and I've got that in the corner. If this was just a classic elevator, the player would just be like, oh, here we go, classic workshop map, just walk towards that door and ignore everything. But, ooh, no draw texture, but this immediately tells the player they're playing something unique. You can see that I have used lots of the techniques as discussed in there. I used the exact same lighting where it's warm yellow at the bottom, then sort of greenish, then sort of blue. You can see I also have a network of lines set up. Now, I can't really do a tutorial on this section of the map, as this is actually a style that's new to me. I've not done this before, so doing a tutorial on it would be kind of awkward. I'm going to wait till you go through it. And we're into the test proper. We have our flashing light there, music starts, and I'll probably add in some announcer lines after this. I bet this map's going to get complaints because of people putting a ball there, then it loses its momentum and hits that, and they're like, "Arr." Nice. Okay, so this one is a bit more classic than the other one. It's still quite custom, and if you want to know more about making this stuff, I actually have a video regarding multi-screen displays, pain of making a multi-screen display in Hammer, something like that. It's more of a tips than an outright tutorial, but oh, no draw, and we have a custom little elevator sequence as well. And the map would end there. Okay, so to save as, originally this was called Overgrown Tutorial. I'm going to rename this to SBA1 Sench Repito. And you do SBA1 so that the loading screen is the one where it's like zooming out of GLaDOS in the like Overgrown area. And with that, we've reached the end of the tutorial. This has been very time consuming for me. As of speaking, I've nearly finished editing, but I've had to cut down about 11 hours of footage. It's taken many days of work, so I hope this tutorial was insightful for you. Some last few tips. So, Overgrown is great for big areas. The aesthetic alone can turn what would be a dull, clean chamber into a breathtaking one. And there are many more things you could do with your Overgrown test chamber. I see people in the workshop use lots of custom models, such as high resolution doors, dirty doors, flowers, different kinds of plants. I've seen custom skies, something fancier than plain white. So the point is, there's many ways to do an Overgrown aesthetic. Valve use a much more simplified version that still looks nice. I mean, this wall here is massive and is all just one texture. No moss, no props, no variation. But their style is consistent, which gives this its professionalism. I often see on the workshop more heavy inclusion of behind the scenes areas. Sometimes many catwalks are visible through the chamber, sometimes the chamber itself takes place in the middle of a massive behind the scenes vista. But that's all from me now. So I hope you took away something useful from this tutorial, and good luck mapping, and I'm off.